Are you ready? Welcome to the Think Millions podcast, a channel where you get an unfiltered, raw, and authentic conversation about the challenges of being an entrepreneur and tips and tricks on how you can scale your business to the next level. If you are looking to scale your business, then you're in the right place. Introducing our host, Alexa D'Agostino.
Hello and welcome to the Think Millions podcast, a podcast where I'm bringing to you real entrepreneurs that are scaling real businesses, coming to you with real business problems and real solutions on how to scale your business to the next level. And today I have my friend Mario here today, and we're going to talk about how to scale your agency and talk about very specifically the things that he and I have both done to create 7, 8, and even 9-figure agencies in the marketing world, in the PR world, in the creative world. And we're going to give you real life situation on how we actually scaled our business to the next level and have you walk away with exact things that you could do right now to scale your business. Hello, Mario, and welcome.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and a little bit about your agency?
Sure. So my name is Mario Mirabella, and I'm the CEO of MSM Digital. And I started my agency 23 years ago. We're full service digital marketing. And we basically specialize in building brands, getting them the awareness and traffic that they deserve, making them look polished online, and really generating leads for them to increase their sales.
That's awesome. So you've successfully, so we started working together about 6-7 months ago, and you've already scaled your agency to 7 figures. And now you're looking to hit 8, you're looking to go bigger, but most people can't even get to 7. So let's talk about 0 to 6 figures. In your mind, how did you, I know you had your agency for a very, very long time, but if you had to start all over again, what would be your first step to even get to 6 figures? How do you get an agency off the ground?
I think two main points that really helped me a long time ago when starting from basically nothing. To get to that 6-figure point, I think first you need to really build a great surrounding team because if you're going to take on new business, you really need to make sure that the foundation is solid. And how I started building relationships at those early stages was to align myself with other types of agencies in similar industries. I had strategic relationships with a lot of PR agencies that needed our services for their clients. So essentially it was an extension of like a sales team for me. And work was funneling in through those channels, really without me doing anything except building that solid relationship that I'm a trusted resource.
Ooh, I like the trusted resource, right? And I think now more than ever with social media and so many people moving into the marketing game, there's so many people that are content creators and social media experts and marketers and web developers. And now it's so easy to like pop up a Squarespace that everybody thinks they're a web developer. And so having that trusted resource, it's like almost like an invisible little star on you that, hey, you're a trusted resource, right? And that's why we always talk about why content's important, why going out there and putting yourself out there in different ways is important. There's so many different important things that you have to do to build your brand. And you have to start that from the beginning, right? You can't just start that later on in your career. You have to always be a trusted resource from the very, very beginning. And to me, I see that in a couple different ways. Like one is obviously what you know, which is content. But 2 is also who's talking about you, right? So on your screen, and for people listening to the podcast, you can see, but he has as featured on Forbes, Fox News, CNN, blah, blah, blah. He has all these things that creates trust because if they're talking about him, he's got to be pretty good, right? And then the third thing is also your clients. And I know that we've talked a lot about your business and how you've been able to get clients to refer you. So let's talk about that. So once you create a business, you create an offer, right? You've got to first make it so you're a trusted advisor, but you also have to have a good offer out there. So what makes you guys unique? Like what's your pitch when you go out to people? What makes you different than all the other creative agencies that are out there? And there's quite a few.
Oh yeah, too many, too many. I think what separates us first, it was always very important to me to have that reputation and that solid foundation when it comes to credibility for my company. We've been nationally and internationally recognized over the years, and this industry sometimes can be a little bit tough because it's flooded with freelancers, and that's where the trust and the responsibility sometimes kind of falls off. So having a location, having that credibility helps build the trust with that potential client that's looking to make the decision. I also really stress the fact that we have an in-house team. And that's always was very important to me. So they know who we are. We're not just unknown operating somewhere without a physical address. That part was very important to me so that customers could come in, see what we're about, actually meet the people that they're going to be working with, if in fact they're local. And that just, I feel, goes a long way, that trust continues to build with that relationship. And that's what really been working for us. And I just think it's important. It's important also when you have a team that the synergy is there when working with that client.
Yeah, it's like internal synergy in your team, but also external. I know a lot of people that are listening might be solopreneurs, but eventually you're going to have a team. I mean, once you hit 70, 80, 90K, you're going to have to start hiring people. It's very difficult to do all of it yourself if you really want to scale and get to the next level. But synergy with the client is important, but synergy within the team as well. And, I think in terms of, so for us, ThinkFuel, our thing that we go out and we say, hey, we're not just marketers. We're real entrepreneurs. We have scaled hundreds of businesses, 20 of our own. We've had exits ourselves. So we're very unique compared to any other agency that's out there because we've actually done it. We're not just marketers. We're marketers second, we're entrepreneurs first. So we get it. We understand speed of implementation. We understand how to move quickly. We understand marketing by modification, which is one of our trademark philosophies of getting stuff out fast and testing it. We understand because we've done it for ourselves. So it's not just that we've had success with our clients, but we've also had success ourselves. And that to me is a differentiator and something that when we go out is very different. And in a world where you have so many marketing agencies, you have to have your it factor. You have to have that thing that makes you so different than everyone else. And you're right. The first thing is synergy and personality. Like if you jump on a sales call and you're like this, yes, I could do website, like nobody's going to want to hire you. Right. So you have to understand how to match the energy of the person across. Now, if they're like, not like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Then you don't want to be like peppy, like, hey, what's up? But like, you've got to understand how to match that on a sales call. Incredibly important. So I love that. I completely agree.
Yeah. You have to read the clients. I mean, I guess doing this for over 2 decades, you really, we've seen it all, and we worked with so many different personalities, and you have to shift when you need to shift based on who you're speaking with. And that comes with really just experience and getting out there and working with different industries and different businesses. And I love doing that, working with different industries, because we get to be creative all over again, working with different companies and learning what they're all about. And going back to the team, for those agencies or anybody who might be a solopreneur, I built the company with service contractors. It was the only way to bring in experts when needed to get me to that next level. And it was important to also pick and choose who I would work with at the time, the freelancers who really became full-time for me. And that's how it basically started. And that's actually something to keep in mind for those who are in that position right now, because that'll definitely control your overhead and control your overall spend with unnecessary things that you may not need at this stage in the game. You want to focus more on revenue and more on what you're taking home rather than the extra expenses, maybe office space or extra payroll, bringing people per project to get you to that next level.
I'm like laughing because I keep telling Mario, I'm like, get rid of your office, save that expense. And he's like, we don't have an office.
Don't have it on right now.
Oh, you crack me up.
It's so true. You bring up those great points, and it's funny. But at the time, I was 1,000% on board with that for sure. Now I still love the show and the presence when people come in. But hey, if I'm really looking to tighten up and get to the next level, per project and service contract is definitely the way to go. No training, source out your experts, get them in for exactly what you need, like just the other, what we heard just recently, right? I think billions, don't hire based on a job description. It's awesome. What an awesome line. Hire based on your need. So if you have a project coming in, it's going to be a big database e-com job, bring in that developer that specializes in that only. and that's it. Don't worry about everything else. And it'll just make you look like a rock star with that client. And again, you talked about this earlier about the referrals and building up that base and relationship with that client, not only to maintain your relationship, but now you could be referred because of such a great job you did. And it's not just the performance, it's also the communication and what you do throughout the process with that client that's going to really, make you stand out, and they're going to remember you for that. The little things.
It is the little things, right? It's like, even like with follow-up, right? Like you said, it's like these little things that make a difference, right? So like, even as silly as like your branding, right? You have like the light shining, you're very intentional with your branding and who you are. People know who you are. Like, it's the little things that you do that make you stand out. It's, as silly as it is, so many people talk about, oh, think with a Y. That's interesting. And I'm like, well, I own think with an I too, but it's all my branding is think, right? And we're purposeful with that, because with everything that you have to do, you have to freaking think. Most people don't think. Sometimes they just go. You've got to stop and think. And
Right.
So we talk about little things in your branding and the way that you say things. And like, I know this sounds crazy, but like, I curse and I don't care. That's part of my branding. And that actually makes people want to work with me. Right. Because at the end of the day, people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And if you are somebody that they're like, ooh, I can hang out with her, then they're going to hire you,
You're real. It's just, for me, I do the same thing. You're
I'm a real live girl.
That's it. You're a straight shooter. You tell it how it is. And there's no facade. That's why, I knew we were going to get along from the beginning and work well together, because it's very similar personalities. I'm a straight shooter. I just tell you how it is. And you have to be able to take it. Like, you can't. You have to.
And I fire stuff at you. I'm like, do this, 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 and this. You have to be able to like catch half the balls. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. No, it's true. And you mentioned something about, the branding and, backgrounds and such. Quick example, what we used to do when we used to do more trade shows in previous years, it was important for me to stand out. And we always had killer boots and ideas. I had laser lights showing up and all sorts of games and whatnot, because when we were really pitching ourselves as a creative agency, if we couldn't do it for us, how can anybody expect then for us to do it for them when they pass by us? If we're going to stand out for that potential client, that should trigger in their mind, wow, they could do this for us. But if we're going to be that ordinary agency sitting behind a table with a pamphlet, then just pack it in, because where is the creativity? So that was always important when you talk about branding and, doing things for yourself. That's one thing that always stood out. And we continue to think that way. I think it's so important, and people stop and they pay attention. They want to know what's going on here. Why do I have 12,000 lasers hitting my booth and lighting up the wall? But it's true.
I can see you having like all these lasers.
You got to see. Yeah, you got to see with the shows that we used to do. And when we celebrated our 20th anniversary, we were down at the Javits Center, New York City, and we were at a show down there. And I set up this monster champagne bong game, so champagne pong, and it was beautiful. And we actually colored the champagne so it matched our branding color. So it was red and it was great. And people like, what is this? I'm like, stand behind the line. Here's a ball, so just fun stuff to do. I always say, think outside the box when it comes to yourself. And most importantly, think outside the box when it comes to what you do for your clients, because that's what's going to make them stand out. And after all, that's what they're hiring you for. So always keep that mentality, and your ideas will stay fresh.
Yeah. And so I think it's, I look at it as two different things, right? The first is if you want to, once you hit, deep 5 figures, 6 figures, if you really want to get to 7 figures, you've got to expand. That's either you've got to expand your services or your team, because if you're doing websites and you're charging $1,000, like That's a lot of websites you have to create to get to 7 figures. And it's impossible for a single person to do that. So you either have to charge more and get clients that are willing to pay more, but a lot of times those projects are more too, or you have to expand your team or expand your services, right? So for us, like, we don't just handle websites, we handle all marketing. And so for that, we're able to charge retainers. We're charging $10, $15, $20, $25,000 a month for our retainers. Do the math. We only need anywhere between 8 to 10 clients to hit $1 million. That's not very hard to do. And so for us, that gives us flexibility, but we offer so many different services that we're able to do that. So we can be a full marketing shop, and we can offer everything from content creation, PR, to social media, to website designs, funnels and sales funnels, to content, like everything that has to do with marketing we offer. So people want to hire us as their marketing department. We literally are fractional department for people. And so that takes it off the pressure. And then especially for businesses that are looking to sell, or they don't want that salary expense, because keep in mind, having salaries is expensive, especially if you're hiring in the United States. You have to pay benefits, you have to pay this, like it's so expensive to have full-time staff, where it becomes a very big attraction, right? So the first step is you got to expand either team, services, or both. And then the second is you have to fulfill. And you just said that you can't not fulfill. And this is one of the things that's so important of why we're successful is, like, you can keep winning clients, but if you keep losing them, you're just going to keep bleeding out money. But then they're going to be one of your biggest referral systems. And this is probably one of the greatest things about Mario, but also one of the things we're fixing right now is that he's so good at what he does. People refer business to him, and his clients refer and talk about him, but we're also trying to find other avenues as well. And that's really important too, is not just having referral. You can't operate a multi-7-figure business on referrals. It doesn't work like that. But that's why you've been able to be so successful, because you fulfill, you actually do the work.
You have to execute. I say this, and you probably would agree with me, because you're surrounded by extreme talent, and I'm aware of your team. And I say this all the time. I'm only as good as my team, because I can sell, talk to people, business development all day. But if you're not executing and fulfilling, then all that hard work is out the window. It's done, and forget about anything down the road. So you need to have that solid team to fulfill, so you could then carry on and move to the next person. You mentioned about scaling and whatnot, and our focus now, when you talk about getting to that 5-figure, 6-figure, but now being in the 7-figure range and saying, okay, what do we need now to go to 8 figures, has been the mission this year. And it comes down to first establishing that foundation and getting key people in play that did not exist prior. So if you're going to look to take on higher referrals, higher retainers, you need that foundation. So you need to have systems in place and processes in place. And that is something that's been a game changer for my company this year. After learning that and working with you on how can we get to that next level, because what we've been doing successfully this whole time got us to where we are. But now to get there, this is what needs to be established. And that's what we've learned. And it starts with staff, and it starts with now a system in play to keep your business organized, to keep communication in place, and also really processes that there's a protocol like never before to follow.
Sell, staff, systems. There you go.
That's it.
3S system. We just solved it all.
That's
sell, staff, and systems. You need to learn how to sell, you need a staff, and you need systems in order to keep things moving, right?
Got it. You got to have
But
it.
it's like the littlest change. I mean, think about like the project management change that we made in your system. What a difference that makes, right? Just having that one person that's owning all of that, making sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and deadlines are being made. Sometimes in your business, these little tiny tweaks make all the difference to free up time and space.
Absolutely. And you know what? Sometimes, and I know a lot of solopreneurs will relate, you wear a lot of hats, and it's difficult to let go. And that's the thing. And it was very, very difficult for me to let go, because my hands were in so many areas of the business. And you got to get out of that mentality that if you don't do it, it's not going to get done properly. But when you bring in the proper talent, it will get done properly, probably get done even better, because those people are just geared and wired to do that. and build the trust in your own staff that it will get done properly. So it frees you up to focus on bigger things and maybe generate more business, because really that's your role. So keep that in mind, because if you're struggling with that, I've struggled with it too, letting go a little bit and trusting in your staff.
Yeah, it's like trust, but keep your eye open. It's like
you can't just close your eyes. No, you can't just go, fade away. You got to be on it. I oversee everything. You have to, but you have to give up the reins a little bit in certain areas that'll free you up for bigger and more important things, I believe. And that's kind of been really the focus this year. And I'm excited now that foundation has been built and what's to come, right? And you talked about referrals are great and it got us to this point. Now we're all about outreach to get us to this point and beyond. And I'm very happy to have that foundation in place now that we can do that properly. So I think it's going to be an exciting time and a strong end to the year and even a stronger 2023.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, if you guys like this podcast, please give us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, whatever you're listening to. We would highly appreciate it. If you want more episodes, you can go to thinkmillions.com. All the episodes are there. And we appreciate you coming, Mario. And if you want to get more information about Mario, where can they find you?
They can find me at MSM Designs, and that's MSM DESIGNZ as in zebra.com, or you can find me just on Instagram or LinkedIn at Mario S. Mirabella. Look at that signature right there. And then you can find me, hook up with me online.
I will also put all of these links in the show notes. So feel free to check that out. And thanks. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Think Millions Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort, and we'll catch you in the next episode.